The University of Windsor Mental Health Awareness Association presents its first in a series of interviews with individuals and organizations who contribute greatly to the field of mental health. I'm Sanjay Maru alongside the coordinator of the Peer Support Center, John Antoniw. John, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
How long have you been in this position for as coordinator?
I'm very new. I just came in January. We had a transition with the leadership. So at the end of December, I came in and I've just started since then.
Okay, awesome. So for those who may not be familiar, what is the Peer Support Center?
Yeah, the Peer Support Center is a drop-in center located on the second floor of the CW Student Center. So it's a drop-in support center where anybody can come, any student at the University of Windsor, to come for support. So we have a trained staff of about 35 students at UWindsor who provide active listening and support and also different resources and things on campus in the community. Basically just a sympathetic ear to listen to. As you know, students have a lot of things going on in their lives, a lot of struggles, so just a place to come talk to and kind of work through some ideas.
Are there any specific topics that you say would be off limits to discuss at the Peer Support Center, or is this a place where you can essentially talk about anything?
Yeah, anything goes. So anything you want to talk about, you can come to us. Everything is confidential. Obviously, based on principles of, if you're going to be harmed to yourself or something like that, we'd want to make sure we protect you in that regard. But you can come talk to us about anything under the sun. There's no judgment. It's a safe, inclusive space. So whatever you want to talk to, we'll stay in that room with the peer counselors and anything you want to talk to for sure.
Okay, perfect. How many student volunteers do you have typically working throughout the day?
So, throughout the day. So we're open 10 to 6 right now. We're looking at changing the hours for next year to be a bit more open, but there's 2 volunteers on it during each shift, and there's about 4 shifts, so it's about 8 different volunteers a day will be working in the center, and then I'm there a few days a week as well, and we also have 2 nursing students that do some work for us as well in terms of staff development and training and things like that. So our staff as a whole is probably about closer to 40, and then about 8 volunteers a day will be in and out, but never more than 2 people at a time will be in there with you, just so it's more opening for people to come in and not be too overwhelming.
Now, speaking of training, what kind of training do these volunteers receive so that they are able to talk to individuals on campus?
Yeah, so the volunteers have a very intensive 4-day training, which is about almost 40 hours, if you will, at the end of the summer. So they have this training that has different partners and community organizations that come in to talk about all the different issues under the sun, talk about basic listening skills, counseling skills, active listening, support, learning about the different resources in the community, suicide prevention, all these different things. So it's very extensive training then. Then we have ongoing training that we have at least once a month. We have a larger special topic where we bring in community partners. For instance, this month we're going to have someone come in from BANA to talk about eating disorders. Last month we had Dusty Johnstone talk about sexual assault. So we're always constantly professional development about all these different issues and practice we might come across. And then in bi-weekly, every other week, we have team meetings. And in these meetings, we have a special topic that the student nurses will talk about. So not only do they have that extensive training at the beginning, but every other week they'll have some type of mini training, and every month a larger training. So there's constant professional development for everyone.
So if I'm a student walking into the Peer Support Center for the first time, what can I expect? Is there somebody I'm going to be talking to that will forward me to somebody else, or what's that experience like?
That's one of the biggest things probably when people come in. So when you come in, you'll be greeted by 2 lovely individuals, warm, friendly faces. There's an open area with couches. We have water cooler. We offer you a tea, a coffee, hot chocolate. It's just very open. It's one room space, so you can come in, and then what we'll do is we can shut the door for privacy in terms of putting a sign up, and then you can be free to go wherever you want. We have a more open area with the couches at the front, or in the back there is a little area where you have some more privacy, but essentially we work with you with whatever you're comfortable with, but it's just one main room there. So sadly at this time, with the way it's configured, if we are in session with someone, we have a little note on the door, so if you do see that and want to come, just come back a little bit later when it's open again. So you just walk right in, and then there's a few different ways you can kind of go based on your comfort level of where you want to talk to us.
So how many students do you have coming into the Peer Support Center to use your services, either per day or per week?
It's hard. It definitely ranges. It depends. The big thing is our public relations in terms of knowing about the center. A lot of people, when they come, they're like, we love this, wish we knew about it, no one told us about it. So as we start to do our public relations activities, people will start to come, the traffic increases. As for concrete numbers, I don't have them offhand at the moment, but it is fairly steady, given that we are kind of tucked away on the second floor near the UWSA offices. So it is fairly significant. I don't have a hard stat to give you, but it is quite well used, and even if one person comes, we're happy in general, but we definitely have quite a few come through each month through our doors.
So what would happen in an instance where I was speaking with a volunteer in the peer support center and then maybe I see them off campus and maybe I want to say hi? Would any of the information that I relayed in the meeting at the peer support center, would that be also said outside, or do we just keep that in the peer support center? How would that work?
Yeah, so it's confidential. Anything you say will be confidential. If you are seen outside of the center and you see a volunteer, they're never going to approach you. They're never going to be like, hey, like, nice to see you again. How are you doing? Like, they're not going to follow up in a public place. Just based on ethical principles, we would never do that. If you wanted to approach the counselor, you could. And then, they probably redirect you to, come visit us at the center or something. We want to make sure that it's a safe environment, because you never know when you're outside those walls that we provide. You never know who's listening, or you never know what's going on. But we would never approach you outside of that if we saw you. So it kind of would depend on the individual that visited us, if you will.
Now, you had referred to the variety of volunteers that you have. So if I was somebody who specifically wanted to speak to a volunteer from a certain year, could I do that? Could I say I only want to talk to a fourth year volunteer?
We haven't had that come up yet, but that's something they could talk to me about in terms of, like, I make the schedule and things like that. It always rotates. We never have the same person working every day, every shift. It's always rotating throughout the month. So it's going to be kind of a mixed bag about what year, what discipline. We have people from obviously like social work and psychology. We have some from biology, first years, fourth years. We have a grad student. So there's a bit of a mixed bag there. So if you wanted to really specifically talk to someone, we might not have them on staff at a time because there's only 2 people. But if you email me, psc@uwindsor.ca in advance, I can try to set up something, put a feeler out to see if we have any fourth years that we could have someone that you're more comfortable talking to. For sure, we definitely like to accommodate you however we can.
So in the activities that you guys do at the Peer Support Center, what support have you gotten from the university?
Yeah, so we're actually a University of Windsor Student Alliance service. So we are operating as a student service under the student union. So that's great. We get a lot of support from them. Obviously, we're funded through them. So that's a big form of support. We also work with the Student Counseling Center down the hall, and we refer to them as well, so they're a big support with that. But we're constantly working with different partners within campus based on, like, the health promotion office, whether it's be student groups or organizations, other services, because mental health and what we come across at the Peer Support Center is not just limited to us, it affects everyone, so we kind of work together. So we do receive a lot of support from others, which is great, and we appreciate that. So I guess it's just a matter of getting us out there so we can get more people to know about it and come to us.
For sure. What support would you like to see from the school, maybe further?
Based on, I guess, just public relations wise, knowing about it. So advertising, communicating with students, letting us come to certain events to kind of promote us at the beginning of the school. Because again, nobody really knows where we are. They don't know what we do. So, we're working on that, but if we could have support from the university to kind of showcase us, I think it would make a big difference in helping people get resources they need, or just have that ear to have someone listen to.
So now let's talk about you personally.
Sure.
What got you involved with the Peer Support Center?
Yeah, so right now I'm in my master's in social work. So within that, we're learning about counseling skills. Basically, a lot of the things we do or learn about at the Peer Support Center. And I also have been involved with the University of Windsor Student Alliance for a few years. I used to work at the Women's Center on campus for 3 years. I was assistant coordinator there. I volunteer at the Campus Pride Center, which is also a service. So I'm very familiar with the UWSA. I loved working for them. And then I saw an opportunity with the Peer Support Center, and it kind of merged my experience with nonprofits and with different social justice-based organizations, as well as my passion for social work and my degree kind of fused together. So that's kind of how I got interested and involved with that.
So as somebody who's got a lot of different things on their plate, what does an average day look like working at the Peer Support Center while balancing masters in social work?
It's tough. I was just on break in class, and I was sending off emails, filling in schedules, things like that. It can be hectic doing it all, but it's a great job. It doesn't even feel like work when you're doing it, because it's something that I want my career to be, something I'm really passionate about. So an average day could be, we have a meeting with our bi-weekly meetings where we check in with our volunteers to debrief and make sure everyone's feeling okay. We then have, maybe running off to a PR event where we're trying to promote it or doing some type of thing. We have a laughter yoga event coming up next week, so planning for that, meeting with people with the UWSA, meeting with community partners, consulting volunteers. I like to at least have one shift a week where I do peer counseling as well, just to keep the practice relevant, and so I can ensure as a coordinator that we're meeting all the needs. So it's wild. It just depends on the week and the day and what's going on in our doc, I guess.
So broadening away from the university, what changes would you like to see in the community, or more specifically on campus, but generally the community, in regards to mental health awareness?
I think like having a discussion, like it's what a lot has changed in the last few years, which is great, where we're talking about this important issue. A lot of stigmatization still exists. So basically trying to break that stigma, having these discussions, having campaigns where people are talking about it openly, but obviously you can talk about it, that's great, you get it out there, but what supports around there. So making sure that the university either highlights or provides these services for students, so giving proper funding to organizations that need it, to make sure that we can provide these services for people. Basically it's great to be able to talk about it, but then having the support for students, letting them know. I was at the recent town hall, the CBC town hall meeting, and I was hearing about these engineering students that were saying that they really need support from student counseling. They're so isolated on their part of campus, and it was heartbreaking to hear that they don't have that kind of support. So I think that it's really important that the university addresses the geography of our school, the way that things are set out, and making sure that we can provide these services to students. So with that instance, I approached some of the engineering students and said, listen, like, let's collaborate. How can we work? How can we help you? So I think that basically having resource mobilization is really necessary, as well as to continue to destigmatize and have a discourse about this.
So as somebody who works very closely in the field, what advice would you give to somebody who wants to seek help but feels stigmatized to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard based on different pressures from peers or family, school, media, but just, come and talk. Talking helps. Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, you will feel so much better if you can come and just talk to someone about it. There's obviously stigma, and breaking that stigma can be hard, but knowing that there's places like us, the Peer Support Center, where we're non-judgmental. We're here solely just for listening to you. So come talk to us. We'll be able to get you the support you need. The first step really is talking to someone. It's the hardest thing to do. Once you do it, we'll be able to get you where you need to be, hook you up with resources, we're available anytime for you during our operation hours. So, the stigma is really hard to break, but just, know that we're here to support you all the way, and any way we can. If you want help going to certain services, we'll call places for you, we'll go with you, we'll arrange for ways for you to have support with that. So, it's a hard question to answer, but essentially just knowing that there is supports on campus for you through not just Peer Support Center, but other organizations where we can kind of work with you to make sure you're where you need to be and getting through the first initial step of breaking those barriers.
John Antoniw, coordinator of the Peer Support Center, any contact information you can give us?
Yeah, totally. So feel free to email me anytime. My email is psc@uwindsor.ca, so that's just Peer Support Center abbreviated. We have a Facebook page, of course, the Peer Support Center, University of Windsor Student Alliance. We post lots of events and information on there as well. And you also can drop in anytime you'd like, Monday to Friday, on the second floor of the CAW Center, Monday to Friday, 10 to 6. So come and visit us, even if you just want to know what the center's about, get some resources, and of course we're available to talk at any point as well.